Welcome to the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast.
For so many mobile app developers, it's an all-or-nothing battle out there in the App Store.
This AppInTop podcast is your mobile app marketing advantage.
Let's get that new app of yours moving to the top.
This is the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast.
And now your host, Michael Bauer.
Welcome to episode number 5 of the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast. The podcast is produced by AppInTop.com. You can find the daily blog at blog.appintop.com. And also track us down on Facebook at facebook.com/AppInTop. And of course, we tweet, so you can check us out on Twitter at AppInTop_com. How's your app marketing going? Are your ads, social media, and word-of-mouth campaigns helping you out? Well, you better have a good answer for each and every one of those questions, because the world of analytics and measurement are key to user acquisition. It's also important to know what happens after the user downloads your app. Do they open it? Do they use it regularly? Do they spend any money on it? Today, we've got a couple of guests joining us. They're key players in giving you the metrics you need to evaluate each user acquisition channel. You want to understand lifetime value and channel profitability? Appsflyer does exactly that. We are joined by Oren Kaniel and Avrahamy. I'm sorry about that, Ran. It was just a last-minute addition there. But Ran and Oren, how are you guys today? Thank you for taking time from watching over number crunching at Appsflyer.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing well. We're doing very well. Now, Appsflyer is a tracking service that can be used by an app publisher to work out which networks are getting their best responses from. So which element of Appsflyer technology are you guys most proud of right now?
Okay, actually, it started back in 2011 when we started the company. I worked for a small VC fund in the East Coast, and I noticed that app developers that just have no idea how users are actually discovering their applications. And the basic reason for that is the lack of cookies and different technologies on the mobile devices as opposed to the web. So on mobile device, you don't have cookies, and the code is not HTML code, it's native code. And the rise of the third-party stores, which are the App Store and Google Play, as opposed to the web on the web as we know it. So these three things posed a great challenge on the user acquisition attribution, and there was no technology to solve that. So this is what drove me back to my hometown to develop this technology, this unique technology. That unique technology called native track, and this is how we simulate a cookie environment in the cloud. So we overcome these three main challenges into a beautiful self-service platform in analytics.
Are you guys seeing now other companies that are trying to, maybe your competitors that are trying to do the same thing? Have they figured that out now that you guys have sort of set the path for it?
Yeah, actually, when we started working it and when we launched it in the end of 2011, we were pretty much by ourselves over there. So it was kind of interesting place to be because we were talking with investors, for example, and they're asking for a competition, and you don't have any. So yes, right now we do have companies that trying or doing what we are doing, but the thing is, this is not something that let's say engineering power will solve you. The same as search engine. So let's take Google, for example. Google is driving their actually business or the barrier to entry by their users. So if for one day, for example, everybody will stop using Google and will shift to Yahoo, Yahoo will have that information and data to provide better search.
Right.
And the same goes for attribution, because we are applying machine learning into these algorithms to study and to improve our tracking algorithms over time. So if you don't have the data, you cannot improve. And when you're getting into this market right now, you need to work very, very hard to get this data in order to do your job right.
And so is that right now the edge that you guys have over this competitors is how long you've been doing it and just the sheer volume of sort of data that you guys have compiled?
Yeah, that's one. The second thing is we know exactly what the developer is looking for. I can tell you that we developed everything according to developers' needs and requests. So there is a big challenge there. In addition to that, we are integrated with almost 500 different ad networks, and that's not. This is a big barrier, right? I mean, you need to integrate with 400 or 500 different ad networks. It's not only the integration. They need to trust the data they see, not only for optimization, but also for charging, right?
Yes.
Because right now, all the market is going to performance before platforms like us, where in the market, developers or the market or the advertisers were buying CPC or CPM. Now they can buy CPI or CPA, which are actions within the application, and they need a reliable source of data, not only for optimization, but also to charge their clients.
Yes. Now, with that, I wonder, is there, like, around the offices there at Appsflyer, when you're calculating the metrics, the return rate, lifetime, LTV, you've got your own metrics and methodologies. Is there, like, a language that you guys speak that's all your own as well? Because of the things that are exclusively sort of Appsflyer, that kind of, when you guys are communicating, that's your language because it's your qualities.
Yeah. Well, we didn't invent anything, actually. Everything is taken from the investment world. So right now, if you're investing in, let's say, Facebook stock, you would like to measure the return, you would like to measure the ROI, the same way as you buy a real estate property.
Okay.
And the same applies to investing in media. So actually, the whole industry of advertising transformed from spending into investing, right?
Gotcha.
If you're talking about 10 or 15 years ago, or even 5 years ago, all the advertising and advertising campaigns were very hard to measure ROI. If you're talking about TV commercials and radio and stuff like that. Now with the internet, you can measure each and every dollar you spend. So a better comparison is comparing that to investment. And this is the way we look at advertising.
So you guys haven't reinvented the wheel. You've reinvented the way you look at the wheel.
Yeah, we just tell the advertisers, listen, you're investing your money. You want to make sure that you invested it right, and you want to make sure that you know how to allocate the next marketing budgets.
How do you guys define loyal users and how you calculate the return on investment?
Well, ROI or return on investment, that's very easy, right? I mean, you need to measure the return, and then you need to know your cost or your acquisition cost, and you divide by the cost. So that needs to be a positive number, right?
Yes.
Let's say the cost is $1. You want to make more than $1 in lifetime value. Now you need to make sure that you have the working capital, etc., etc. But again, that's all becoming like a big investment, right? But it's even better than investment. That's you can compare your mobile app into a home building for rent with an endless apartments, right?
Right.
So that's equivalent, but you need to make sure that the cost and the user acquisition cost is lower than the lifetime value, and return rate is for how much time you need to wait until you get your money back.
Gotcha. Okay. We're talking with Oren Kaniel, CEO of Appsflyer, also Ran Avrahamy. I'm curious too, guys. When your technology, can it monitor or measure the virality of the app? How does that work?
Yeah. So first of all, we track organic installs, right? So let's say you have a commercial in in Super Bowl.
Okay.
You can see the jump in the user acquisition in terms of organic. Now, organic, it means that do not know where the users came from.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to think a little bit why was the jump on the organic installs. You can also correlate that to paid acquisition. So, for example, if you're running a burst campaign during the weekend, and you know that usually you're getting 10K installs organically every day during the weekend, and for that specific weekend, you got 20K organic installs.
Right.
You can correlate that to the paid campaign, and the paid campaign delivered more users, right? So the actual K factor comes to play here. So you can calculate the K factor and the virality factor for your application based on this data. So the actual cost per install is actually lower than the one you measure with our platform.
Gotcha. So once you've got sort of the steady understanding of where the base level is, you know the 10,000 that you're getting on a regular, everyday kind of basis, you can go, well, where did this bump come from? Did it come from the advertising campaign? Has it come from someplace else?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Gotcha.
Now, the second thing is because we provide a holistic solution. So it's not only for paid acquisition. This is also for user invites and emails and text messages and stuff like that. So you can measure the virality of your application if you are using social share or user invites and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Can your service track and install and user action in a scenario where they install immediately and then delete the app offline?
Well, we track only if the user installed the application and actually uses it.
Okay.
They did not use it, we don't track it. And actually, if they do not use it, this is worthless for the developer.
Correct.
So we track it.
So can you track, I guess with that then, how is it possible, or can you track losses of data when a client moves from a 3G to Wi-Fi, for example? Like if they're just in that transition mode, if they've opened it once, or if they've downloaded it but they haven't played it until they get to that point, is it able to can your service tell the difference between that, the 3G and Wi-Fi?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now, how does your technology allow to track data about pre-installed apps?
Well, that's even more simple. This is just like an organic install, right?
Okay.
I mean,
you know what the baseline is for those that are going to be pre-installed? You know the baseline for those?
Yeah. Actually, we have a special solution for that. So the advertiser or the developer will be able to see exactly from which pre-install, because you can have multiple pre-installs, right?
Yes.
You work on a deal with a device vendor and then a carrier, or maybe a few carriers and stuff like that. And you would like to know exactly where the users came from. So you need to provide a better granularity of the data of the organic installs, and we provide that.
Gotcha.
As well.
You guys deal with a lot of data there. Is it possible that and then I guess the question is, how do you, if you do deal with data loss because of like a server load? Have you ever run into that kind of a situation?
Actually, we're pretty used to that. We see a steady increase in the volume, the traffic volume, and in a 30 to 50% increase every month.
Wow.
In the last year and a half. We work on top of Amazon Web Services, and we are using auto-scaling groups, so that the amount of instances can grow automatically if the traffic grows.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, the uptime of our platform is 5 nines, and this is very transparent. If you go into status.appsflyer.com, you will see the status of our servers in real time.
Wow.
This statistics actually provided by a third-party company, so this is not controlled. It's not fully controlled by us.
Right, so it's not like you guys are skewing the curve and saying that this is all working. This is a third party that's monitoring it, and yet you can go and see exactly how they're holding up.
Yeah, actually, this is a great service that can provide this kind of a transparency for advertisers and partners.
Now, last question I've got for you at this point, and then we'll take a quick break, is how do you guys work with user reviews, and does that come into play for any of the analytics?
Well, no, that's not our business. Only user acquisition.
Gotcha.
User acquisition and attribution analytics.
Gotcha. So you don't, other than reading it and getting an occasional chuckle out of a review, there's not much more that goes into reviews for you guys.
Well, there are companies that do that, and this is what they do. This is not our business.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Here's what we're going to do, fellas. We're going to take a quick break here. How do smaller developers afford to get these kinds of amazing measurements and statistics? And who Appflyer's top 3 networks based on quality and top 3 based on volume may be? That's all seconds away.
This podcast is produced with support from AppInTop, an automated mobile app marketing platform in App Store and Google Play.
This is the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bauer. Their company's platform is integrated with more than 300 ad networks and media sources. We're joined by Oren Kaniel and Ran Avrahamy. Fellas, for Appsflyer, according to the numbers that I've received here from my people, shows that the cost for 5,000 installs is 5 times higher than it is for the 25,000 installs. Are smaller developers turned off by that kind of cost, and does it make sense for them to use free services instead?
Yes, let me just correct one number.
Please.
We are already integrated with 470 different ad networks.
Okay, 470. Okay, let me up that number then. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's growing very rapidly. Actually, that's a very interesting number because this is probably the amount of ad networks and exchanges and DSPs that are playing in the international market because of our reach. So that's a number. This is growing in 10 to 15% every month.
Yeah. Now,
and
go ahead.
Mike, I would like also to add that, you know, it amazes us to see our clients asking for more and more ad networks integration, and, you know, within hours or days we can integrate with new ones, and we see, you know, we actually answer the demand of our clients and partners to add more and more ad networks, you know, day in, day out.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like if I'm somebody that's coming to you and saying, "Hey, this is a great number that you've got. Are you guys consistently working with more?" And then you come back that day with, "Yeah, here's, you know, another 20 that we've added today." That's going to up the value 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
So with that, smaller app developers, is it more? I mean, what would you say to a smaller app developer who's curious about the budget in regards to working with a company like you guys?
First of all, the actual Appsflyer cost, or the measurement cost, is around, and according to the internal statistics that we have, is around 1 to 2% of the media cost. So in the whole budget, that's a very, very, very low cost compared to the value we generate. Okay?
Gotcha.
And it doesn't really matter if you are a smaller player or not. The thing is, we are not charging for anything else. There is no minimum fee. We do not charge extra for specific support cases or API usage. And that's actually, we found that our pricing model is very aligned with the developer campaign success. So if it wasn't successful, the campaign wasn't successful, and they didn't get a lot of installs, they're not paying a lot. But if the campaign was very successful, they are paying for the installs they got from this campaign. Now, we're also not charging for organic installs, and we're not charging for cost per event or cost per click. And let me spend maybe half a minute here. Other providers charge for each and every mobile app action. Let's say app open, app close, or in-app event, or in-app purchase, or a banner ad click. This kind of events, the value to the developer is uncertain. They don't really know what's the value for them, but you still need to pay somebody else, a third-party analytics provider. We are not charging for these kind of events, and we are charging only for when they're winning some new users.
Gotcha. So, like some bank fees that could come down to people who are using their ATM cards, or just general bank fees in general. Other companies may be doing something like that. Not you guys. Specific for acquisition and getting some of those newer people to see the app.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, you guys have an insider view on the mobile ad network since you measure their effectiveness of your clients. Would you please do me a favor and name the top 3 networks that you've got based on the quality of their traffic and the top 3 based on volumes?
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry to disappoint all our listeners. There is no shortcuts here.
There is none.
No, actually, this is like the stock market, let's say. Give me the 5 or the 3 stocks that will win in the next 2 months, okay? This is not going to work.
Yeah.
What you need is to replace that with constant measurement and work in exploring new ways of acquiring new users. We have advertisers that working constantly with hundreds of different ad networks at the same time. They are constantly exploring new ways, new technologies, and new media sources to acquire new users. And that's the way. So if I would say 3 ad networks that are best, there is no best.
Gotcha.
There's no replacement for exploring this market and measuring each and every dollar spent.
I would also add that the game here is to measure and to optimize. I mean, Oren gave a very good example of stocks. I mean, you won't have a certain stock that you know you're going to invest in, and that's a winner stock. You have to, day in, day out, open up your stock app and see what's going and feel the market and optimize it accordingly.
It's ever fluctuating, like the stock market is, and with that to a certain level, you guys obviously have the insight, you've got the measurement, and the tools to see what's going on, but literally that could change from day to day if you're talking to your clients on an individual daily basis.
Yeah, correct.
Now, in your reports, you place social media as the most effective source of users. Does it make sense to place ads on alternative platforms?
Well, what we did, we took all the media sources and all the campaigns we saw, we aggregated that to an aggregated report. So again, it's not necessarily means that it will work for any app developer. Now, social media such as Facebook is performing very well in terms of user acquisition. So definitely, I would recommend for a developer to try all the media sources that they can, including the social and Facebook.
Okay, and what are your thoughts on CPI networks and potential for fraud through Incent installs?
Well, that's the market is going CPI, cost per install, and that's great, right? If you do not have a cost per install, and if you're not working with a CPI network, you're probably calculating the effective CPI cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do that, and then you can calculate the cost per registration or cost per first hotel booking or whatever.
Gotcha.
So that's one. The fraud is not necessarily coming from instant installs.
It's not.
Instant installs can be great for certain applications and actually with a higher level of engagement, and for other applications not. So I wouldn't say that instant installs and fraud are the same sentence. It's not related.
So they're not necessarily interconnected. There's enough variance in there.
No, sometimes for installs, instant installs, users are installing the application, deleting the application, and then installing the application again just to get some kind of benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do not allow that. So every user can install an application only once. The instant the incentivized ad network will credit for that install, even if the user will uninstall and install the application 10 times after that.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, we talked earlier about, just seconds ago, about the social media aspect of things, and I just wrote this down. Quick question. Do you at Appsflyer have an advantage over competition in regards to people that track and work with Facebook? Is there something that Appsflyer does monitoring Facebook installs that gives you guys advantage?
Yes, definitely. First of all, we are independent or are unbiased. We are not selling media as opposed to other players in the industry. When you are measuring and selling media, there is a clear conflict of interest there, because it's the same way as you go to buy your apartment or a house. You're not going to use the lawyer of the seller. You're going to bring your lawyer.
Right. It always bugs me when you've got the real estate agent is working both sides of that deal, where it's the real estate agent is selling the apartment but also working for you to buy the apartment, and they get both ends of that bonus.
Exactly. That's the exact example. And this is why we picked a side here. We are close to the advertiser. We are getting paid only by the advertiser. We are not selling any service to the ad networks, although they are very good partners of us and we have very good support for them. But we are not selling anything for the ad networks. We don't have any service or product we sell them. We are not charging them, although sometimes we're getting offered for revenue share and stuff like that.
Sure.
But we are asking them to pass this bonus or whatever they got to offer us to the advertiser.
Gotcha. I was going to say, I bet you guys are getting approached by those kinds of things, but it's nice to know that there's a line that you guys won't cross in regards to that, and instead pass that incentive along.
Exactly. I can tell you that we're charging only the advertisers, and we refuse to take any money from the ad networks. Now, the second thing is that we are not selling media, and we are selling only attribution analytics. So every day, the team mission is to enable our advertisers to work in an equal way with all the 400 different ad networks. Actually, we are welcoming more and more innovation from the ad networks. For example, retargeting. There are a few ad networks that are getting into mobile retargeting, and we support that, although it takes time, right? I mean, there is a lot of investment from the team here to support these kind of new innovations into this market. But as a company, policies and values, we need to support that because it's good for our clients and it's good for the market.
All right, fellas, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come right back, what the future holds for Appsflyer and where the guys behind them say they still may be missing, what they may be missing from current analytics services. That's just seconds away here on the AppInTop podcast.
This podcast is produced with support from AppInTop, an automated mobile app marketing platform in App Store and Google Play.
This is indeed the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast. I'm Michael Bauer. We'd like to hear from you, so please send us your comments. Facebook.com/AppInTop, or you can tweet us any questions, comments, and thoughts you may have at AppInTop_com. AppInTop_com. We're joined today by two guys who spend their time making sure that the numbers are correct. The pie charts look awesome. They are Oren Kaniel and Ran Avrahamy from Appflyer. Gentlemen, is there anything right now? I'm going to ask you to get the crystal ball out in just a couple minutes and tell us what's in the future. But right now, is there anything that you can think of that needs to change or alter for what you guys are doing at Appsflyer? Is there something within the current analytics services that you want to see developed going forward?
You mean in our platform?
Yeah, exactly.
Because in the industry, there are billion of things we
Yeah,
want.
we could spend an entire podcast just talking about fixing the industry.
Yeah, actually, it's getting there. It's getting there. It's good. It's good because it's the first time that advertisers think where the data is, think how to separate between measurement and the ad networks.
Yes.
They're looking for it. They know the value, and that's, you know what? Only mobile caused that, because on the web there was a mess, but the mess was under the carpet and under the rug. No one really knew about it. But right now, when mobile got in, and there were big challenges, and when we developed this technology, now they do understand the value of it. But yes, let's for your question, in terms of what we're looking into, let's say improving targeting, like I mentioned earlier, that's a newcomer to the mobile advertising industry, and the analysis of the return of investment for engagement ads is different than the user acquisition, because how do you calculate user acquisition? You're looking for the lifetime value of that user, and you divide that by the acquisition cost. But for retargeting ads, what is the lifetime value and what's the return? Do you open 1 day attribution window? Do you open 7 days? Is it lifetime value again? And how do you measure that? So right now we are playing with some models on how to evaluate retargeting ads. I mean, we know the cost. Now we need to figure out the return, or the direct return for that retargeting ads. And this is something that we are playing around here.
Gotcha. Now, you guys have recently announced Appsflyer for agencies. One of its features is optimization of the budget in real time. Can the system distribute the budget automatically, or should marketers do it manually?
So the quick question is manually.
Manually.
But for agencies that are media agencies that are playing in the exchanges and doing the algo buying within different exchanges, they can plug into our APIs and get the conversion data and the cost per install and the cost per specific action in real time to backfeed their algorithms. So that both, let's say, players here. Either you are an agency, probably a larger agency that managing budgets and stuff like that will allocate the budgets manually.
Okay.
Now, in the media industry, the media agencies, they will be able to optimize and allocate budgets automatically using our APIs. But again, we are not handling the budgets, and the money is not going through us. This is what the market has to offer in different DSPs and exchanges out there.
Gotcha. Now, let's talk about some of the other features of Appsflyer and the new developments. For instance, if you could just speak about a couple of different ones, that'd be fantastic. And I mean both on the larger scale and for some of these smaller developers that are looking to get on board.
Okay. So actually, when we started the company, it was kind of mission impossible, and it was a mix of mission impossible and something that a new segment, right?
Right.
There was no attribution analytics for mobile when we started the company, and right now it's a must-have tool for every mobile developer, right? I mean, you cannot go into this market without having a proper measurement tool like ourselves. And right now, we're working on new set of tools, and focusing on tools and software tools that in 1 to 2 years will be a must for every app developer and marketer to do their work.
I'll give another example. And as you mentioned before, we just announced our product for agencies. And until not recent ago, and that's actually an interesting thing, because we made the agency product from the demand of our customers, because so far agencies didn't have any way to get into the market. And, agencies and their clients approached us and asked for that solution. So, as a company, as a company value of ours, we tend to listen to our customers and to understand the needs of the market and the customers. And, we're building the product through the customers and through their needs. And the agency's product is a great example of an exact such an exact opportunity to apply.
Yeah, it sounds like for sure what you guys are doing there at Appsflyer, that you get the feedback, you listen to the feedback, and you start developing from there as well. I suppose that's a big part when you guys are able to recently raise over $7 million in funding. I think that's an attribute, if you will, to the fact that you guys are listening to the market, listening to the clients, and developing from there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
How are you guys going to spend that $7 million?
Like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of plans in the product-wise to improve the current product and to introduce new functionalities in the close future and around what we do in terms of expanding the advertiser toolbox that we currently offer.
All right, gentlemen, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Take that, whether it be the $7 million crystal ball or just one that sits on your desk there, Oren, and I want you to tell me what you see happening in the next year for Appsflyer, as well as in the next 5 years for Appsflyer.
Well, 5 years, that's difficult, but actually, it's not difficult. We would like to be the industry standard for mobile attribution. So it will be a platform that both ends, advertisers and networks, can trust the data, both for optimization and for performance marketing, billing settlement. We mentioned few sophisticated campaigns such as cost per install or cost per specific action within the application. I'll give you an example. Actually, this is something that we didn't touch. Let's say hotel booking. This hotel booking application is willing to pay, let's say, actually not willing to pay, but let's say back then, 10 cents per install, maybe $3 per install, and $50 if the user installing the application and doing a booking using the application within 4 weeks.
Okay.
They're willing to pay $50, right?
Right.
So the question is, first, the ad network need to deliver, and they need to deliver that because this is how much the advertiser is willing to pay or still be able to make a profit out of it. That's one. And both ends need to trust and to use a platform that can actually tell them what the performance is.
So with that and becoming the industry standard, what do you foresee? What's the next big step for you right now? What's the next big thing that you guys are working on? But you don't have to get into too much detail about it, but the next big thing that we should all be on the lookout for from Appsflyer.
Well, besides the retargeting analysis that we're actually building up right now, there are a few very exciting development. Actually, I'll prefer to keep that like that. It will be a really nice surprise, and I can tell you one thing, that it will be at the toolbox of every mobile advertiser. We're not going to get into the media business, for example.
Gotcha. Fellas, listen, I appreciate you guys taking the time. It's been fantastic having you on. Ran Avrahamy and, of course, Oren Kaniel. Thank you so much, fellas. We really appreciate the time and really appreciate what you guys have done.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, guys, take care. We appreciate you being here for the last 40 minutes, and thank you very much to those of you listening to the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast. Finally, make sure you visit our daily blog, blog.appintop.com. You can find all this great information and much, much more every single day. Until next time, I'm Mike Bauer. See ya.
The AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast is produced by
AppInTop.com.